Good evening. It's Paranormal Science Lab Live. I'm Lisa.
I'm Kathy.
And it's January 12th, 2017.
It's Friday the 13th Eve.
Even better. And we've kind of been on a hiatus, not necessarily planned, but...
Yes, well, you know, holidays and family things and all that stuff kind of gets in the way sometimes.
Yeah, Kathy and I both have just had a lot going on and just kind of looked at each other and said, we haven't done a podcast for a while.
We have not, but we're back.
We're back, and it's going to be fun, guys. And it's a brand new year, and I think some interesting things are coming up. Before we forget, let's first of all, let's say we are broadcasting live from the Carthage Opera House on the square in Carthage, Missouri, looking at the beautiful courthouse across the street.
Mm-hmm. This is where we do a lot of our investigations here, and if you look on our website or Facebook page, you'll see we have quite a bit of evidence, photographic and such, from this location, and it was featured on Ghost Hunters Taps.
Yeah, Ghost Hunters, yes, and anyone that is interested in booking it for private investigations can contact us through Facebook, email, etc., and get a hold of us.
Last time we were here, we were doing a video podcast, and we had a very loud, audible sound from the back of the room, and scared all of us.
Yes. Yes.
Right in the middle of our podcast, we got boom, really loud.
Well, here's an interesting story too. In fact, Benton, who's lurking, and I were talking about this earlier. My son Alex was actually over here a few days ago with a friend, and they were downstairs, and his friend had never been here before, and he said, "One of these days we'll take you upstairs and show you the opera house." And they said, "Is there anything up there now?" And he said, "No, it's empty." And they said, "Well, they've been hearing footsteps above them."
On the first floor.
Yeah, they
from
were
the basement. They could hear footsteps.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's been proven that there's, you know, an entity that moves around in the antique store that's on the first floor.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not surprised at all to hear that.
Oh, and I haven't had a chance to tell you, but the owner shared a couple weeks ago that he saw a full-body apparition again.
The girl, or?
No, actually, a man that he hadn't seen before.
Wow, maybe it was the boot man.
No, he said he appeared to be dressed from the 1970s, so... Actually, kind of wonder if it's the one from across the street that
it could be. The only full body apparition I ever saw in my life was something of maybe like the 60s or 70s, which is kind of funny because you automatically think, when you think of spirits, you kind of picture like vintage, you know, 1800s or older.
People die all the time, though.
But yeah, I mean, I saw a little boy fully dressed in like tan corduroy bell-bottom pants and a broad horizontally striped shirt, and he had like a bowl haircut, kind of a little bit long, you know, like the style that you would have worn in the 70s, and very, very clearly dressed from like the 60s or 70s, and that's interesting. It's really interesting. You know, this is a new science. We don't know a lot about it, but it's funny to me when people see full-body apparitions and it's not what you typically think of, so it kind of lays credence to that they're probably not making it up. Right. You know, I saw a little girl in a white dress, you know.
Long curly hair, you know, all those things, yes.
Yeah, you know, and it's sort of like, really, that's interesting.
Exactly. Those I find more interesting, actually, than the typical sort of description.
Yeah.
Unless you're at a historic place that makes sense. But
yeah.
And another thing we probably ought to mention before we forget is that we do have an interesting event coming up March 11th.
Yeah.
with author Stephen LaChance, and Stephen's a good friend of ours, and he's been a researcher in the field for a very long time, and went through very intense experiences of his own, which he's written about. But Stephen has a new book coming out, which covers the Exorcist case in St. Louis in depth.
Not too far from here.
No, and it is the Exorcist case that was the basis for
The movie?
Blatty's book and the movies. I know that Stephen has had access to locations connected to that case that are not generally open to the public, and as well as extensive interviews and so forth. And so his new book, Confrontation with Evil, which you can order on Amazon or anywhere online or your local bookstores, covers that case in depth. And he's coming down March 11th and doing a talk at the Joplin Library with us at 2 o'clock. And then that night, there's going to be an investigation at the Kendrick House, and Stephen's going to lead it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so that'll be interesting.
You've talked to him, I assume, about the history of the Kendrick House.
Yes, he is. He's familiar with
Okay,
it.
good.
He's been wanting to come down for quite a long time, and so we've gotten this set up, and proceeds will help benefit the Kendrick House. So that announcement's going to be made in the next few days, and it probably will require prepayment because we expect limited seating on that one.
Yeah, and Kendrick House is beloved to us as one of our locations that we do investigate a lot at.
Yes,
and but it does have a dark history as far as being paranormal investigators there have had some pretty bad experiences there. Fortunately, now we do warn people before they go in there about that, but it's kind of a little bit I love it there. I mean, it's definitely got a lot of activity.
Oh yeah.
The house to me doesn't have an evil feeling about it, but there's definitely something there that affects certain people, it seems. Well,
I think a lot of it has to do with something that is very protective.
I agree.
And what it perceives as threats to the property and maybe to people there that it lights.
I really would love to be able to find out what it is, what that is and what's going on there, because it is a wonderful place, and there are some. We have very close emotional attachments to some of the spirits that are there.
Right. Well, and we know who some of them are.
And my stepdaughter was in from out of town, and we took her there, and she had an experience there that she talks about all the time, and that it touched her emotionally when she made contact with a child spirit that we know well from that location, and she's very emotional about it. She gets tearful when she talks about it, and she still to this day, and when she sees something that kind of brings her back to that time, it's like she saw a little pair of children's shoes, and she said, I think Carrot probably would have had shoes like that, like she just her one visit there, and she felt touched and connected to that place. And
isn't it funny that you can have a location that has, and she's not the first person who's had those kind of experiences there, that you can have a location that has that kind of impact on people, and then versus the skeptics that you get that are just
what
blind
I think
to
is
anything.
really interesting is that location can have that sort of impact on people and have such a very different impact on other people.
Exactly.
You can have a wonderful experience there that you take home with you and you cherish, and then you can have another experience that can affect you in a very, very bad way, and from the same exact place. And it's like, and it just, I guess,
I think it has a lot to do with the person going in, their state of mind.
It's true.
Their attitudes, their approach to things.
Yeah.
and you've got something that's possessive and protective, and if you don't respect it, they feel it.
Yeah, they do.
So, but
that's going to be a fun, interesting location.
Yeah, it will. It will definitely be interesting because you'll have everything that you get at Kendrick already, which is a great experience on a tour, and then get to investigate with Stephen, and he'll be talking about that's just case at the investigation as well. So
yeah,
I'd
like to see what he takes away from that location, being his experience dealing with the situation in St. Louis and what he knows about that and the exorcism case.
Also he I don't know if you're familiar with the Union Screaming House case.
No, I'm not.
Union, Missouri. It's called
Screaming House. Okay.
And it actually was certified as demonic by the Catholic Church, and that was an experience that Stephen lived through.
I'm really curious to see what his takeaway is from Kendrick.
Me too.
Based on his experience. Because there is something there, and I'm not saying by any means that it's demonic. No. I don't think it's a demon, but I don't think it's a human spirit either. But I definitely think it's something like that we're not really that familiar with dealing with in the paranormal.
Right. I mean, it's
as far as what the equipment and the knowledge that we have of the paranormal, I think we know of two different realms, and we know of human spirits and we know demonic, but there's definitely something in between.
Yes, and most cultures believe that there are other spirits as well, but in the West we don't look at that too much. It's either one or the other, and there are. I'm definitely a believer too that. Was that my echo, or was that something else?
I think it was something else. It'd be uncommon for us to be here for any amount of time and not hear some kind of noise coming from the back.
Yeah, something trying to get our attention.
Well, the girls are both right there, and Benton's right there, so it's coming from back there. It's not any of us.
Kind of the new year. I think I've been seeing a lot of. Sort of discussion and questions posed online about the state of the field and where it's going. And actually, one I saw this week that, in a way, I kind of had to chuckle, was someone posing the question of whether or not social media has helped the paranormal field.
I don't think it has. But
I don't either.
In my opinion, I don't think it has. I think it's, if anything, it's hindered it. And I think it's hindered a lot of other areas of, humanity in general.
Me too.
But I, was going to bring that up because I have been seeing a lot on. Now, of course, my Facebook page is not geared towards the paranormal. My Twitter page is geared towards the paranormal stuff that we do. My Facebook page, I try to keep that separate from. Right. Because I have a lot of friends from different religious groups and every different kind of background that you can imagine, and some of them don't really want to hear about that stuff. So, but still, I see a lot of videos on Facebook about demonic possessions, people being possessed. You see videos, people on the street just suddenly or falling down, or in a store, or in a church, and they're casting away the evil demon. The preacher man, and the people are like. And
there's one right now going around with a doll sitting on the floor.
A doll, yes. Yeah. I didn't watch it. I saw it, but I didn't watch it because
it's pretty obvious when you watch it that there's a fish line, there's a string or something on the hair, and the hair gets tugged, and the eyes roll at that point too. But of course, that's from the movement, and then a piece of paper kind of flutters, and it looks like it's from a fan off screen or something, And it just gets me how people just kind of go crazy over this stuff.
Well, there's so much technology, too, nowadays to Photoshop things and create images, and it's hard to believe what's real and what's not real anymore. Okay, this is a little bit off topic, but Lars just went and saw the new Star Wars movie, the one that just came out.
Right.
And in that movie, at the end of the movie, you get to see Princess Leia when she was Princess Leia in the 70s. You know, 19-year-old Carrie Fisher. And she moves and she talks and she acts and she's there on screen.
Right.
And it's completely computer generated.
Right.
I read about it. I had to look it up and find out how did they do that.
Yep.
And they explained it if you look it up. And I said to him, with that kind of technology, you don't ever know what you see with your eyes. You could have a politician on TV saying anything, and it will look exactly like that person saying it. With that kind of technology, how can you not question any evidence that you see about the paranormal? When we capture evidence, any kind of evidence, be it visual, audio, anything like that, how can people not question that that's a legitimate?
Right. I mean, basically, unless you're able to actually analyze the clip yourself, and actually.
Did you hear that, Liz?
It sounded like it said, "Hey, someone back there."
Come on up here. It's okay. I will never forget that time we were doing the podcast here, and Jackie walked across the floor towards us, broad daylight, and Bootman came running up behind her, boom, 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 and she just kept walking and looking at us like, oh my God. And we could clearly hear the footsteps go pop, 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 pop right up to her as she was just walking. And it was broad daylight, and we were here, in the middle of the day, and that was just really a funny thing that she got to have that experience here. But you just never know what's going to happen here. And
but kind of getting back to evidence, the issue is unless you can see the original, the raw clip. Mm-hmm. And have it analyzed to ensure that it's not been altered. And then, of course, debunking any possible fakery,
right?
Like strings or fans, etc. It is really hard.
And it almost makes the work that we do feel like it's for nil, because even if we caught a full body apparition on camera, on film, and it would be. Nobody would believe it anyway. Yeah.
See, that you got to capture that genie and put it in the bottle. That's about the only way people are going to believe it.
I know. It's just so hard. How do you... This whole thing just... Like I thought one of the kids just leaned on my chair and bumped into the chair. Did you feel it too?
Yeah, it felt like someone bumped into it.
We're in the Carthage Opera House, and we're sitting on these chairs that are attached to each other like theater chairs in a row, and it's just one row of about 6 or 7 chairs, and it just felt like one of the kids bumped into it and bumped it.
Was that screeching noise?
Yeah, did you hear that? Me and her were back there looking
I
at
heard
stuff
that.
on the wall. We just heard... And we both just looked at each
That's
other
why
and
we
ran
ran.
back.
Oh, you guys didn't make that noise?
No.
Oh, I thought you guys bumped into something.
No, and
No,
I
we were
tripped.
standing in the middle of the room.
And I started running.
You guys ran back. You might get to hear the cart. It's very often that we hear a cart rolling across the floor too, like somebody's pushing a wooden cart across the wooden floor. You're not going back there by yourself anymore? I don't like the feeling back there in that corner where the stairs are.
We didn't go back there.
No.
And inevitably, every time we do an investigation here and we have a large group, I end up taking the group down on the stairs.
You're always the one that goes, yeah.
I'm always the one that goes down there on the stairs. And it's great because, we get a lot of good evidence down there.
Yeah.
And people walk away from this going wow, but still.
Well, and if you saw the Ghost Hunters episode about the Opera House, when you see the owner talk about being pushed on the stairs and a 400-pound weight on him, that's the area that we're talking about. Yeah.
I tell them that story when we do the investigations here, and I love because it's a very small balcony. The stairs go down, there's a balcony, and then they go down again. And we try to get as many people as we can on the balcony, but then inevitably there's always people on the stairs. right in the area where that happened to Keith, and I tell them, right about there where you're standing.
But it's true.
They always look at each other like, oh my God. I'm like, hey, I can't guarantee you. You can't go on a ghost hunt and not expect to have, if something like that happens, it happens.
That's true. Another thing I saw this week is, and this actually was posted online by the Myrtles Plantation itself, of a photo they said that a guest had taken the night before, and it was in the lobby, the grand staircase, and a woman in antebellum dress standing there. And took about 10 seconds to find it online. It was a ghost app, and
they posted
they posted it themselves. They didn't
investigate. They didn't research to see if it was legitimate or not.
Yeah,
that's so disappointing. That is so disappointing. Oh well, what are you going to do? We're not going to stop doing what we do, and hopefully, maybe equipment will get to the point where it outruns the technology that people have to recreate things, that are fake. Mm-hmm. But it seems like right now, the equipment that we have kind of just barely keeps up with the fakery, and we haven't really gotten anything that can unarguably prove.
No. And, I think that's one reason why the most compelling evidence usually is not visual, it's audio.
Audio is good, and going on investigations like ghost tours like we do at these locations, because when people are here and they witness it for themselves, something that looks mundane on TV, like the K2 going off or a flashlight coming on command, might look mundane on television when you watch it, but when you're here in real life and we're asking questions and we're getting responses on our equipment as we're asking questions, and the people in the group start asking questions and they're getting responses, they walk away, and no matter what level of skeptical, whatever that you have, people walk away amazed.
They do, and I think the difference is because, they're here, they see the whole area, they can tell whether or not there's fakery going on pretty much.
Yeah. Well, right now we're in a location we're in the dark. We're sitting in the dark. It's a bright moonlit night, and we've got the courthouse right across the street that's well lit. So we can see, but we don't have power in here. So it's really hard to try to fake something when you have no power. And a lot of our locations are like that, or even the amount of power that you have is, we shut everything off.
Yeah.
At Kendrick, we shut off the whole breaker.
Yeah, the breakers are off, so it's not even a matter of just flipping the light switch. So it makes it. I think that personal experience makes it much more real to people, and I don't know, maybe just seeing it on TV so much because of the prevalence of shows over the last few years, people are getting jaded to it.
I think they are, and I think, those TV shows kind of try so hard to make it interesting that I think they've gone too far to where they've made it seem unrealistic.
I think they're afraid to show something that, nothing happened here.
Well, sometimes we go to locations and nothing happens. We have big tour groups of people, and we say, that's unusual. Usually we get activity in this room.
Yeah.
Sorry, we didn't get anything. And we might go back to that room. We'll leave and go to another part of the house or building, and we'll come back, and later on we'll get activity. But you don't always get activity. It's not a play. It's not a movie. It's,
Yeah, it's not on command.
Yeah, we have these locations that we do pretty often because we get a lot of activity at them, but it's no guarantee. I will never forget, I was pretty new to the group, and we did the Weiss house, the John Weiss house. And it was after they moved all the furniture out and everything like that. And I still believe there was a lot of activity in that house, because that's the only place that I ever saw like these little flashes of light out of the corner of my eye. And that never stopped happening anytime I was in there. But it doesn't happen here at Kendrick. It only happened there.
Now, I have seen flashes of light at Kendrick, but not real often. Yeah,
I saw them constantly in that building.
Yeah.
And we were on that place. It was our last time that we did an investigation there, and it was nothing.
Yeah.
It was nothing. And we had a group of people, and we were like, and we had known names of certain entities that we had talked to in the past. We knew information on them. We were trying to call out to them directly. Nothing. And it kind of also, that laid, to me, credence to the haunted collector,
John Zappa,
and what he does, because to me it was obvious that whatever was there was connected to something that was in the house that had been taken out, because
possibly, yeah,
it was gone. It was completely gone. In that one room where we almost always got activity, it was gone.
Yeah.
But the furniture was gone, and the house was empty, and it just completely changed the amount of activity that we had there.
Either that, or they knew that something was really changing because everything was gone.
Yeah. But that was kind of one of those things, and I said to people, well, at least now you know we're not fakes. Because if we were, we would have made something happen. And that house had a lot of activity.
It did.
That night, it was... And we've had that happen at other locations in certain times.
Yeah.
You know, you go to another part of the house, and it picks up, but you go back, and it's okay. But sometimes we'll sit there and talk to ourselves for quite a while.
Well, that's all right. We try to keep ourselves entertained, you know. But
I remember at the bordello, one time we were doing that investigation in the poker room. We were playing poker. Oh shoot, Jackie, can you text Lars and tell him that we're doing a podcast, please? And we had tons of activity. Tons. We were playing poker, and it was so funny, and it was almost like there was an entity there that was playing with us. And we were laughing, and it was fun, and it was just a good time. And then another time we tried that again, and nothing. We had nothing. And it was so weird. But it happens.
you know, we ought to go over there and walk through the antique
I know. I
store.
would love to.
They've taken out everything that was connected to the bordello.
That sucks.
It really does. I'd be kind of curious how it affects the house.
I remember one time we did an investigation there, and they had mannequins in there that looked like cowboys or whatever, like playing poker. Mm-hmm. These full-size mannequins, and at the end of the night, my daughter comes to me and she goes, "That mannequin's was his head or his hat was turned or something," and
at the bordello.
Okay, well, that wasn't you then. It was somebody else.
You never even
No, I never went there.
Okay, well then it was somebody else, and it was that little girl that comes to a lot of our investigations.
Oh,
yeah. And I looked, and I went back to a photo that I had taken around earlier in the night, and definitely it was looking in a different direction. And I looked at the photo, and I looked at the mannequin, and I looked at her, and we were like. And then we went back and reviewed that evidence, and we had several children on our tour that night, and somebody had touched it and moved it. But at first, me and her, I don't remember her, I can't think of her name, just Jaylyn? Yeah. Jaylyn and I were just like, we're looking at the camera, and we're like, okay, it definitely moved. But yeah, it was debunked.
Yeah. But, you know, there might still be a lot of activity there because there was a lot. Actually, some of the strongest activity I ever experienced there was before they ever remodeled and brought in everything that was, you know, set up as the bordello. I mean,
that was a fun place to investigate. It really was. And we got
it really freaks a lot of people out, though.
The evidence that we got in that place was really well. Those loud booms that we got in there, that was that we didn't hear. We heard them on our audio equipment only, and they were so loud. And we were just talking like this to each other, and nobody reacted to it. And it happened like 5 times. Mm-hmm. And then the perimeter, the motion detector up in the attic going off.
Yeah.
And we could see on video there was nothing up there making it go off, like there was no animal or anything like that. And then we stood at the bottom of the stairs talking to it, and the perimeter detector was responding to us, asking it questions, which was really, that's not what that equipment is for.
Yeah.
But I'll be damned, it was
Something was setting it off.
And we could see it. We could see there wasn't anything around it, and we'd go up there and we'd look at it. There's no animal tracks in the dust or anything. There's no evidence that there's any vermin present. That was really fun. I liked that location. It's too bad that they don't do tours there anymore.
Yeah, well, who knows? You never know what might happen in the future.
That's true.
That's another location, though, that affects people at times, people feeling like they're drunk or dizzy.
Yes. A couple of people on our team that happened to.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's almost the effect, the state that the miners would have been in before they were killed.
Yes,
there,
because they were drugged and taken away and
well, yeah, get them drunk, knock them over the head.
Yeah.
Rob them.
That's so sad.
Well, I mean, it is. It's fat. I mean, it's just facts of life. But certainly some interesting stuff coming out of there. So, but I think those are the reasons that video evidence is, even though in some ways it's more compelling, it's not as convincing.
It is. I know it is more compelling and it's more exciting for us. But you're right, it's not convincing because it's so commonplace anymore to see that people automatically see things and they're not impressed by it. And it's like, it's sad.
Well, I think in part, to be honest, it's a little harder for people to fake the audio. They have to have a little bit of background with software and equipment. Excuse me. In order to fake the audio.
It's true.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know. Something, people are going to have, I think there's going to be changes coming in the field. I think that, in order for it to progress, people are going to have to start going back to the basics and looking at things factually.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to come around full circle, hopefully, eventually. Lisa's dying here, and it's a little bit dusty up here in this building. Yeah. There's quite a bit of dust, but
100-year-old dust.
100-year-old dust, the good kind, the crunchy kind.
The crunchy kind, the kind that gives you lung disease.
Yeah.
Just kidding. No danger in the building.
No.
Anything else that
no, but
got you excited?
I would love to hear from our listeners. You know that you're listening because you're interested in the paranormal, and people are generally interested in the paranormal because they've had some kind of experience. And we really would love for anybody who's listening to share their experiences that they've had with us. Nothing too kooky, because trust me, we have experienced a lot of things, and so you're not gonna make us go, wow, that sounds so unbelievable, because we've seen some crazy things.
Yeah.
Either investigating or on our own, personal lives before we were investigators that drew us to become investigators. Almost always somebody has had some kind of an experience in their life that's made them think twice about whether there's more to it than what we see.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, stopped at a gas station today and happened to have a T-shirt on, and the clerk asked for a card because she wanted to talk to us about things that have happened to her.
Yeah, a lot of people have.
But yeah, especially get a hold of us on our Facebook page. That's the easiest place to get a hold of us, Paranormal Science Lab. Give us questions, give us experiences, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah. And we have some evidence on there, and we've got some photos and audio, and just we love to share. We don't share a lot because people think we're, they always think it's a fakery or whatever, but we do share the really good stuff, the stuff that's almost impossible to disprove. But, we just would really love to hear what your experiences are, and also ideas for more podcasts, what you'd like to hear us talk about. We would really love to hear from you.
Yes, and we are starting back up on a regular basis, so there will be more coming soon.
For sure. So. You took a little break during the holidays.
Yeah. But we appreciate everyone tuning in, and we'll be back next week.
Sure will.
Okay. Bye-bye, y'all.